Hey everyone, Mah-Dry-Bread here. Pokemon Fire Red with only Rock-type Pokemon was a fun team run. Let's follow that up with a nearly impossible solo run. Today's the day that we figure out, would I be able to beat Pokemon Emerald with a team of only one Shuckle? Alright, you've probably seen me do a few of these Shuckle runs, although it's been a few years, so let's catch everyone up to speed. Shuckle is a Pokemon with almost no health, attack, special attack, or speed, but in exchange, it's got an unbelievable amount of defense and special defense. Shuckle can be great for stalling and setting things up for the rest of your team. You know what it's not very good at? Actually fighting, and that's what we're going to be using it for. By level up, we learn no good moves for damage. Constrict and Wrap are pretty much useless on a good Pokemon, let alone ours. Safeguard and Encore have their niche uses, and even with us being tanky, Bite isn't very good since it does damage based on health lost, and we don't have much health. At least Rest is a good move. By TM we learn some better stuff like Earthquake and Return, but really, this moveset is incredibly limited, and we're not going to be doing much damage even with strong moves. I have no doubt whatsoever that this run is going to be a total mess. Like always, I'm writing this script as I go through the challenge, so this part is being written before I've started. Everyone comment down below and guess if I can win or not. I'm really iffy on this one. Even if we get an amazing Shuckle, we're weak to both Water and Steel in a game with a Water Pokemon champion and Steel post-game fight. This really could be a loss. Also, I'm like 95% over being sick, so I think I'm finally not gonna have to be editing out a bunch of sniffles and coughs. Let's hope so though, because I think I'm doing another voiceover tomorrow. Let's explain the rules. In combat, I can only use Shuckle. I'll need other Pokemon to use HMs, but I won't be allowed to use any of those Pokemon in battle. No glitches or exploits, no items in battle, only Pokeballs, held items, and items outside of combat are allowed. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let's do this. So right off the bat, I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Trico with Shuckle so that we can do the whole run with it. I name him Hoovy, like last time. Recently, I've been getting into the habit of punching some of these Pokemon into an IV calculator website so I have a better idea of if my Pokemon is a dud or not, and I figure that in a Shuckle run, this is especially important. So I restarted until I got this one. It's bold for more attack and less defense. I know less defense sounds bad, but the absolute minimum defense a Shuckle can possibly have at level 100 is over 400, so I'm really not that worried, I'm just happy about higher attack. IV-wise, both our attack and defense are somewhere between 20 and 31, so in the upper third. Our speed is between 10 and 29, so potentially pretty high or potentially pretty low, we just don't know yet. Special attack is high, but it doesn't matter since we don't have special attacks, and we know our health and special defense is somewhere in the bottom 2/3. We really don't have precise numbers, but we'll have more accurate numbers soon. Do you know why? Okay, one page down, only had to edit out one cough, that's not that bad. Well, I'm showing you some Let's Play footage, so you guessed it, EV grinding in the top left. Look, the attack and speed of this Shuckle are incredibly important, and I'm finally a knowledgeable enough Pokemon player that I can go out of my way to make it a bit less of a problem. At level 100, a Shuckle could have anywhere between 22 and 130 attack. I don't need to explain how big of a gap that is. Same with speed, it's between 13 and 119. Now those high numbers are if we had Good Nature, maxed IVs, and maxed EVs, so it's impossible to get both of those numbers maxed out. But still, we need this Shuckle to be the best it can, so I'm effort value grinding until we max out attack and speed. Now, I think this goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, this is an ungodly slow effort value grind. I need to make 255 speed Pokemon and 255 attack Pokemon faint. I couldn't figure out any kind of all-medicine sheet for this game to start with vitamins to speed it up, so I just did it the old school way. I mean, okay, that depends on how old school you consider turbo speed in an emulator with auto-fire buttons on my controller to be, but like, I was emulating this before the age of 10 and I'm 33 now, so I guess this is still pretty old school. Anyway, considering how insanely low our attack is and how weak our attacks are, this has got to be my all-time slowest effort value grind. I figure it has to be. At least with other Pokemon, we start landing one-shots pretty quickly, but not this time. Have you ever seen the footage move that fast before? is just me one by one fighting Pokemon, clicking on a little counter on a web page to count how many speed and attack EVs I've collected, then me going back to the grind. Now the silver lining of this is, of course, that grinding these effort values right away means that rare candies will have no negative effect on us in the future, so leveling will be easier from that point on, and also our stats will be a lot better than if we didn't bother to EV train, and just go with whatever effort values we randomly got. Now there's this cool new quiz feature on YouTube that I want to try out. I'll tell it to pop up right now. I want you to guess how long it took to grind for these effort values. I'll give you a few options to pick from, and I'll let you know after we check out our stats if you were right or not. It sounds like a fun feature, so I want to try it out, but I tried it out on that Cubone run once, and it was really hard to find the actual results of the poll. They really bury it on YouTube, but I'm sure I'll be able to find it. Maybe I'll put it in the pinned comments or something, or maybe I'll tell you about it on next week's challenge, which next week's challenge is a big one, let me tell you. You won't want to miss that one. Anyway, it's kind of amazing just how long this took. It got to a point where I hit level 24, and I was still failing to one-shot a level 2 Poochyena. Sometimes it was a one-shot, but rarely. Funniest part? I hit level 25 and finished the effort value grind, just to check my stats, and notice that I have Pokerus, a very rare status condition that makes it so that you get more effort values. I have no idea when I got that, you get it randomly while grinding, so it's entirely possible that I had this from early on and could have done half as much effort value grinding. Like it's some kind of a cosmic prank. Or for all I know, it was the last Pokemon that did it, and it just happened at the end, I don't know. It doesn't tell you if you don't check your status screen. So at the end of the grind, here's our stats. I punched into the IV calculator, and it looks like our attack is between 25 and 28, and our speed is between 27 and 30, so both really, really good. Our defense and special attack are between 28 and 31, and our special defense is between 8 and 11. Health is in the middle, between 16 and 19. So overall, our IVs are actually really good. It's not like the best that I could have asked for, but it's really solid. It's well above average. I'm still 100% sure that I'm going to get totally destroyed at the rock gym in a minute, but hey, at least I can slowly rare candy until that fight is possible. I don't think that we'll win until we're level 37 and learn rest, but a man can dream. Are you ready to find out how long the EV grind was? With turbo speed on to make it faster, it still took me about an hour and 10 minutes. I think that might be the longest effort value grind, but I'm also pretty sure I've had other ones take nearly as long. Maybe it's just because Emerald runs pretty quickly compared to some other games. I don't know, faster text boxes or something. Also, of course, that's with emulator speed up. If I was doing that on an actual DS with nothing to speed it up and no auto fire buttons and nothing like that, I don't even know how many hours that would take. I mean, I have this thing running at least 500% speed, probably more, although it's obviously limited by how quickly a human can control it, you know? The turbo speed of the emulator doesn't speed up me clicking out of the window, tallying up all of my effort values, and then clicking back on it, you know? Anyway, I've rambled about this grind enough. Let's go try that rock gym. So after fighting a bunch of trainers on my way to the rock gym, we get there at level 26, and it's very obvious that we're not going to win the fight. Her rock tombs did so much more damage than we could deal, and her defense curls kept us from doing more than 1 damage at a time. Wrap helps a little bit because it deals damage over time, but even after all that leveling and EV grinding, we can't even make the first of her 3 Pokemon faint. Alright, make your guesses on what level we need to be to win this fight. I'll try that YouTube quiz thing again on the YouTube upload of this, but you can also just put it in the comments if you want. My personal guess is level 37, because that's when we can learn rest, and that's going to help a ton. We're still going to do very little damage at level 37, but being able to rest 10 times is going to make us last a lot longer. In fact, if anything, running out of power points could be the new issue at that point. I'll get a few levels at a time and keep testing this fight. So I get up to level 30 and try a few times with Bide. This helps us a little bit, but it still takes a ton of luck. For some reason, they don't just spam Rock Tomb. They often randomly use Tackle and either Defense Curl or Harden, so often I run out of power points on Bide without doing any serious damage. Sometimes I can get the first Geodude to faint with it, but with all the berries and potions that she has, we just don't have enough health to win that way. I have to keep leveling. Alright, level 34, and things are basically the exact same. It's all total luck. Sometimes she spams Rock Tomb, sometimes she doesn't. But either way, we just don't have enough health to win through Bide, and our direct attacking moves are pretty much useless. Let's get to level 37. All that extra health from Rest is going to help us a ton. Alright, that's exactly what I thought. At level 37, we learn Rest, and everything else is totally different now. The ability to heal back up means that we have way more health to work with when using Bide. It's still a pretty terrible move for us, but it was for sure the best way through the fight. We still use Wrap and Constrict a ton, but that was just to chip away at them to save Bide for other Pokemon. This fight gets us the TM for Rock Tomb, and although it's really not a great move in these early runs, it's gonna hit a lot harder than any of our other moves. That said, it doesn't have many power points, so I don't think I'm gonna learn it right away, just in case we need the power points of the other moves. So I'm heading south to the fighting gym soon, and I'm not really sure how it's gonna go. Fighting moves are neutral against us, so it might not be too bad, but I'm not totally sure. I think that Makahita might have Sand Attack, and that could be a problem. But we also have Bide, so maybe we can get by with that. I figure it can't be as bad as the Rock Gym, but then we have the rival fight coming up where she's gonna have Combuskin, so that could be its own problem. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the Silk Scarf on my way. It's only gonna give us 10% more power on normal moves, so it might really not do anything until we have better moves, but it's better than no held item, so I may as well take it. Hey, by the way, I have started uploading my backlog of challenges over to Spotify, and I'll be putting new episodes up there as well. I figure you guys are always telling me that you like listening to the show while you're driving or doing stuff around the house, so I may as well put it on Spotify. They actually do videos pretty well on Spotify now, so you can treat the show the same way you treat it here. Listen to the episode, and when something happens you want to see, you just pull out your phone and the video will be right there on Spotify. I'll have a link near the top of the description. Check out these requirements for the monetization over there too. It's pretty easy. I blow these numbers out of the water on YouTube, so I have no doubt that there's enough people watching this right now who would like it on Spotify to get monetized over there, and I think that'd be pretty cool. I also put this stuff on Facebook sometimes, although they don't really have a great way of archiving videos on there. Anyway, just watch the videos wherever it works best for you. I just thought I'd let you know that there's more options now. We all know that relying only on YouTube is really dangerous. It's best to spread out a little bit and have backups in case of a rogue AI deciding to nuke your channel from orbit, and you need to somehow upload somewhere else while you wait a month for YouTube to fix anything. We've all seen it happen. In fact, between when I wrote this line last week and voicing this over today, I saw another 2 people on YouTube who got their channels completely nuked from an AI bot thinking that they were stealing from someone else when they weren't. One of these channels is Curse Gazette. Are you kidding me? How long has that been around? Like 15 years? Anyway, yeah, everybody knows that YouTube is a monopoly. Everybody hates that YouTube is a monopoly. And yet it's like the best video platform out there, so everyone uses it. Just know that I've also got my stuff going up on Spotify now, and that Spotify video is actually quite nice. It's good to have options. If I ever randomly vanish, and you think that I got nuked on YouTube, 1, I'll be complaining about it on Twitter, you can find the updates there, and 2, if you're missing the challenges, they'll keep going up on Spotify even if something happens to YouTube. So know that you don't need to miss anything while things are getting fixed. Now let's go lose to that fighting gym. Alright, so the fighting gym ends up being pretty easy actually, just because of our unreal amount of defense. But it's also because he was picking the wrong moves. I mean, Machop has Seismic Toss, and he was smart enough to use it a few times, but then he also kept doing really weak Karate Chops. I don't think he'd have won if he just spammed Seismic Toss, but he would have done a lot more damage to us for sure. Right after that is our rival, and I thought Combuskin might be difficult, but it actually ended up being pretty easy. I guess our defenses have hit that tipping point, where them having the type advantage doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do much damage. Even a critical Ember did almost nothing to us. I got some use out of Bide, but I probably could have won this with Wrap and Rest if I really wanted to. Well, we've got the Electric Gym next, and that's almost always a pretty tough one. I know that some of his team has Sonic Boom, and that always does 20 damage, so it's actually going to be pretty dangerous. Plus, most of his team can paralyze us, and although Rest can get rid of it, we're gonna just get re-paralyzed pretty easily. Between the paralysis and him having a steel type, I could see this taking a few tries before we could actually take out his whole team. That said, I think it might not be too bad, at least not as bad as the Rock Gym. Plus, once we win the fight, we can finally get our hands on a way stronger move. Alright, so here's what the first few tries of the Electric Gym look like. The Voltorb at the start blows himself up really early, and Electrike hardly does any damage to us. Yeah, it paralyzes us with static a few times in most tries, but I can just rest. The problem is Magneton. He can paralyze us, and he also uses Supersonic, so we're almost always both paralyzed and confused, giving us way too many chances to fail Bide. He doesn't always spam Sonic Boom like he probably should. He sometimes uses Shockwave for a lot less damage, but really it's all about us having to rest continually and eventually going down to Sonic Boom. A few times I tried using Bide because it should surely do enough damage to knock him out if he just uses Sonic Boom twice, but we never got Bide to hit because he paralyzes us constantly, and we'll either fail Bide because he doesn't do any damaging moves while we're using it, or we'll just be fully paralyzed. I think I can win this at this level if I keep trying, but it might take quite a few tries. Also, I think I need to stop using Bide and focus on Wrap, Constrict, and just staying healthy. 2 tries later, and we finally got this one, where I just got a lot luckier when it came to not being fully paralyzed when using Rest. I didn't use Bide once, and although it took forever, it was worth it. We blew through unreal amounts of power points just trying to get this Magneton to faint, and eventually it fainted, but Manectric actually put up more of a fight than I was expecting. It kept paralyzing us and using Shockwave, and although that move doesn't do a ton of damage, he was spamming it, so it was building up. We nearly fainted a couple times due to crits and being fully paralyzed when I needed to rest, but we ended up just hardly surviving and finishing it off. Alright, it's time for things to get really difficult again. We have Maxie in the Fire Gym coming up, and we're weak to fire. Now the upside is that I can get Secret Power along the way, a 70 power normal move that can paralyze Pokemon when we're indoors, so most major fights. We can also get Return after the Maxie fight for another much stronger move. We're going to be moving from moves with 10 and 15 power to ones with 70 and I think it's 102. Now don't get me wrong, I don't think we're suddenly going to become some kind of sweeping machine, but I think that without these moves, we'd be doomed. In fact, I might need to learn Rock Tomb to deal with the Fire Gym and I guess Ghosts later too, but we'll find out when we get there. At least I think the normal gym after is going to be pretty easy. Also, quick question, and I feel like everyone is going to have a good answer for this one. What's the Pokemon that you always forget the type of? Maybe you mix it up with something else, maybe you always confidently think it's the wrong one, or maybe you just second guess yourself every time it shows up. I think that this whole Pokemon Challenge series has proven that mine is Venomoth. I swear, I've used Thunderbolt and Ice Beam on it more times than I've used anything else. I don't know what it is, it's literally a purple moth with venom in the name, and yet I look at the wings and think, that's a flying and bug type. I feel like it's just hard-coded into my DNA at this point. What one do you mess up, though? It's probably Drapion. I messed that one up, too. Alright, first is Maxie, and he actually ends up being pretty easy. He just didn't go for any fire moves. In fairness, we got pretty lucky with Confusion. We're on a mountain, and Secret Power's secondary effect depends on the terrain, so up here it can cause confusion. We probably still would have won even if we hadn't gotten so lucky, though. We still have Rest in our back pocket. Now let's replace Wrap with Return so we have 2 good moves to use. So I get to the Fire Gym, and this is such a long fight. The first 3 of her Pokemon are almost no problem at all. It's her Torkoal at the end. This thing loves using Body Slam. It does almost no damage, but she's just so lucky with how quickly she can paralyze us with it. I kept trying to shake it off with Rest, but she re-paralyzed us 3 times. Not only that, but we could hardly hurt her, and she uses Hyper Potions, so it took forever before she fainted. I don't think I was ever in any real danger here unless maybe she crit Overheat during Sunny Day, but that never happened, so we won pretty easily on the first try. I mean, if this went so well, then the normal gym has got to be easy, right? But on our way there, I took the Root Fossil. I knew that if I didn't say what I took, you'd all ask. Actually, now that I think about it, everyone ask anyway. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. Alright, well, this isn't what I thought was gonna happen. I mean, the first 2 Pokemon were super easy, and I think we all saw that coming, but slacking was an issue. Normally he isn't. Everything goes fine with us chipping away at him for ages, when suddenly he counters and wipes us out. I can't really just stall with non-damaging moves on turns where he can do that, since we can't just be putting ourselves to sleep constantly. Maybe I'll just try this fight a few times. He seems like he's picking random moves, so this might not take that long. So here we are, just 2 tries later, and we still get hit by counter, but we live this time, so I could just rest and keep fighting. He really didn't take all that long to beat, and his last Pokemon was a Linoone, so it takes itself out with Belly Drum and our return like usual. At least the fight didn't take many tries. Alright, the last few major fights were easy, but I'm not sure about the next part. Our rival shouldn't be bad, but then we have the Flying Gym and Maxie. I know the Maxi is gonna have a Crobat next time we fight him, so that could cause some problems, but I'm more worried about the Flying Gym. Really, it's just Skarmory that I'm worried about. I know we can hardly hurt it, and we're weak to Steel. Maybe I should replace Bide with Rock Tomb to see if that helps us very much. I doubt it's gonna make a massive difference, but who knows. I should get the Lax Incense while I'm on my way to the Maxi fight though. I figure that little bit of missed chance might be better than the Silk Scarf in some of these fights. Right before the Flying Gym is the last required rival fight, but as you could imagine, it's really easy. Our defenses have just completely eclipsed them at this point. They couldn't do anything if they wanted to. Alright, this Flying Gym was way more insane than it had any right to be. Obviously, it starts easy, as Swablu is just a one-shot with Rock Tomb, but it slows down as Pelipper comes out. Between Protect, Supersonic, and a Hyper Potion, she was able to stall us out for quite a while. Still, we weren't in danger yet. It's the Skarmory that came out third that's dangerous. Not only does Steel Wing do decent damage to us, but we took a Sand Attack early on, so we miss moves now. Knowing this would be a long fight, I tested all my moves and found that there was very little damage difference between them, so I mostly focused on Secret Power until we paralyzed her, then returned. The problem is that we kept having to heal with Rest to stay in the fight, and we had some really close calls. It took several minutes, but eventually she fainted. Tropius was next, and we only had 20 health left, so I healed early and used Return a bit to make Tropius faint. Last is Altaria, who kept using Dragon Dance to power up, so I knew this could be a bad situation. I was doing decent damage though, so eventually I just went all in on damage. In the end, I got a bit too greedy and attacked when I probably should have played it safe and healed. We won, but if we had missed that last move, we'd have fainted. It's a win, but I was way too reckless at the end of that. After that was a long travel through a volcano to get to Maxi, and it was actually pretty easy due to his own weird decisions at the start. I thought Intimidate was going to make us weak enough that this was hard, but thanks to him using Swagger right away to boost our attack sharply, we ended up being so strong that only his Crobat stood a chance against us. And even then, it was only because we had bad confusion luck early on and missed a little with Rock Tomb against Crobat. Looks like I came close to fainting, but I could have used Rest at any time. I don't think we were in any real danger there. Alright, we're coming up on what could easily be one of the hardest parts of the run. I'm not worried about Archie, Wally is always easy, and the Water Gym could be pretty hard since we're weak to it, but you know what I'm really dreading? Having a 2-on-1 fight in the Psychic Gym. Many solo runs have gotten brick-walled there for a long time, and I can't imagine that this one is going to be easy. They can spam Calm Mind, so the fact that we're not going to hit hard means that they could easily build up their stats and then wipe us out. Plus, half their team is Rock type, so Return and Secret Power aren't going to be very effective. There's a few items we could get to help us out. I could get a King's Rock for flinches, although we're probably slower than them. I could get a Shell Bell, but that won't heal us very much, and we already have Rest, so I don't know if that's worth it. Maybe Lax Incense could be good so that they occasionally miss. Or maybe we should just stick with the Silk Scarf and get a little bit of extra damage. I'm really not sure. I'll have to experiment once we get there and see if any item makes a big difference. I think there's a very real possibility that we don't get past them until we're a much higher level though. So I gave the Psychic Gym a few tries and man, it's brutal. I can reliably take out Xatu before he gets too strong, but we're so useless against Lunatone. With just a Calm Mind or two, we get ganged up on and destroyed. We're tanky, but we're nowhere near tanky enough to take this many hits, and we end up fainting. We can't survive long enough to both attack and rest, so it's time to gain more levels, and probably a lot of them. So I get all the way up to level 60, and you'd think that that would make a big difference, but it really didn't. We last longer, but we're still not able to both rest and attack without fainting. They just quickly use Calm Mind to build up strong enough that their Psychic and Earthquake combo can take us to red health by the time that we wake up from rest. If we can't even get off one attack after rest and before using rest again, then we can't win. We need to get stronger. So I get to level 65 and try another handful of times, and there was another time that we lasted a bit longer, but it's only because Lunatone waited longer to use Calm Mind. Once it used Calm Mind, we were doomed. I'm starting to think we need an absurd amount of levels before we can win this. I'm talking like somewhere in the level 80s. Maybe I'll do another YouTube quiz thing for what level you guys think that I'm gonna need to be before this is possible, because this could be a wide range. Like, I can see this going one of two ways. Either at some seemingly arbitrary level we hit some kind of threshold where the AI changes up what it does and ends up fighting much worse, like we've seen in a ton of runs now, or we have to get to something insane like level 85 or 90, and we win just through being nearly invincible, if they didn't use enough comm mines at least. Right now, even one comm mine is an issue, so this is probably going to take a long while. Level 72 and we're kind of making progress? Kind of? We last longer, and I was able to paralyze both Lunatone and Claydol with Secret Power, so we were actually able to heal up and get attacks in. But the problem is now that they eventually deal more and more damage to us because they like to spam Psychic, and that occasionally drops our special defense. So we don't just have to worry about Calm Mind making them stronger, we also have to worry about Psychic making us weaker. Still, just being tanky enough to both heal and attack is a huge breakthrough. This at least makes me know that we can win below level 100. Guys, level 78, and this blew my mind. This actually went really well. Xatu is a one-shot now, and our Rock Tomb is actually doing enough damage that we can realistically take out Lunatone early while it's building up strength. For the first time ever, this means that we have to deal with Soul Rock, so I have to just start trying to blitz it down early, stopping to heal whenever I need to. We have the speed advantage on their whole team now, so it's a lot easier to safely heal up. The moment that Soul Rock actually went down, I knew I had this fight in the bag. We had gotten so lucky as to not get a ton of special defense drops despite giving them plenty of chances to hit us. We pretty easily took down Claydol one-on-one, letting us finally get a win on this awful fight. I can't believe we won that below level 80. I was fully convinced we wouldn't win this below level 80. After that is Archie, who's obviously really easy after all those levels. I just thought it was a funny fight because he just kept using Swagger to help us speed up the fight, which was awful nice of him. After that is the Water Gem, but again, we're at such a high level now that he isn't even a threat. It doesn't really matter that they're super effective against us when our special defense is 374. And after that is Wally, who you'd think would maybe put up a little bit more of a fight just by virtue of having a more balanced and stronger team, but he only managed to do 5 damage the whole fight. Now that we're the Elite Four, let's take a look at our stats. I mean, our defense and special defense are amazing, and this might be the highest attack that we've ever had on a Shuckle, but I'm still kinda worried. Sydney might be annoying because of all the accuracy and evasion and confusion and all of that, but how am I gonna beat Phoebe? So my only move that can hit her is Earthquake, and she has 2 Dusclops that have pressure, so we're gonna use double the power points on those. Plus she can stall with Protect. I used a power point max on Earthquake, so we have 16 uses of it. Will that be enough to win the fight? I'm really not sure, but I figured that if worst comes to worst, maybe I'll do enough damage at level 100. After that though, I think that we might have an easy time until Wallace just because of how tanky we are. Wallace himself though, I'm really unsure. Make your final guesses on if we can win this or not. Let's do this. First is Dark Trainer Sydney. Man, I kinda thought that this wouldn't be too horrible, but it actually started really rough. Between Intimidate dropping our attack and 2 sand attacks, we're already missing a lot. Second is Crawdaunt, who hit some water moves for decent damage before we could take him out, and I had to heal as Absol came out. That's when I knew I was doomed. Absol just used Swords Dance a bunch and then started hitting us really hard. We weren't able to both heal and do damage anymore. I'm gonna try this fight a few more times since that might have just been all luck, but it wouldn't surprise me if we need to level up at some point just to help offset the attack loss. Alright, literally the next try and we just get sand attacked once less, so Mighty N is easy, but Crawdaunt actually took longer than before. He never stopped to use Swords Dance, so we got hit a lot. I ended up taking him down, then going straight on the attack as Absol came out. We nearly fainted because of that, but we paralyzed him with Secret Power, and was able to heal up and finish him off. Shift Tree came out, and thanks to Double Team, I was worried about missing, but he also buffed us with Swagger, so we ended up doing a lot of damage and taking him out fast. Last is Cacturn, but he couldn't do much, so we won. Second is Ghost Trainer Phoebe. This was a mess. Right away, I had to try 5 times before I could get the first Dusclops to faint in a reasonable amount of moves, because we can't get the 2-shot without holding Soft Sand, and her usage of Protect is really random. Eventually she went down and we could fight the rest of her team, but not only did we quickly run low on power points, but Bayonet uses Grudge, so we lost all of them. I think if I just stall then use Earthquake on a different turn, then I can get around that. I'm also going to level up a little bit so that the earlier parts of the fight aren't so inconsistent. That way we can save on power points for the second Dusclops. Then maybe we could win. Alright, so I get 5 levels higher, and although it's a little bit more consistent at the start, we're a sliver away from two-shotting the Dusclops. And that difference in power points means a lot because at the end of the fight, we ran out of power points when we were 1 hit away from winning. Hey, at least it's obvious we can win in a few levels. Well, I gave it 8 more tries because this fight is a nightmare, and that first Dusclops is extremely random. Seriously, sometimes it randomly uses Curse. It wasn't doing that at all before. Eventually, though, even with kind of bad luck on the Dusclops surviving forever and using Protect, we had exactly enough power points to win in the end. Third is Ice Trainer Glacia. I figured this one might be difficult just because she has some good water types, but it was actually pretty easy. Return with Silk Scarf was doing decent enough damage that we could spam that and use Rest a little bit when we're hurt. Fourth is Dragon Trainer Drake. First is Shelgon, and it loves using Protect, so I knew that it would take a while. A crit sped it up a little bit after it healed, but then it got us with Rock Tomb, so now we're slower. Next is Kingdra, who opens up with Dragon Dance, but we paralyzed it right away with Secret Power, hit Return for a lot of damage, he was fully paralyzed, then we took it out. This is a great start. Next is Salamence, so we get an attack drop and he's faster. Rock Slide didn't make us flinch though, and we paralyzed him. He was then fully paralyzed 2 turns in a row, then we crit to take him out. This is fantastic. Altaria also started with Dragon Dance, but didn't get paralyzed right away. It took 3 hits to get a paralyze, then Return finished it. The only thing he did to me was hit 1 Aerial Ace. Last is Flygon, but Earthquake wasn't doing much, so I decided to rest for safety. I'm happy we did since he ended up critting us. Once we woke up, we were able to finish him off in a few hits, but we actually came pretty close to fainting right at the end. Finally, Pokemon Champion Wallace. So right away, Wailord makes it rain, and we pretty easily take it down in 3 hits without taking much damage. Second is Ludicolo though, and I instantly knew that we were doomed. He was faster, so naturally he just Leech Seeded us on the second round. It's impossible for us to win this fight while Leech Seeded. It hurts too much, and we don't hit hard enough to race them to fainting. I'm gonna try a few times and see if he always does that. So I try several more times, and thankfully on one of them, Ludicolo doesn't Leech Seed us, so we get past it safely. But then we have a never-ending fight with Water Onix. He drops our attack with Intimidate, spams Dragon Dance, and loves using Surf and Earthquake, both for quite a bit of damage. I kept chipping away at him, and he would just full restore back up. It took absolute ages, and a few heals to take him out, but it didn't matter because we had so little health left that Melodic just finished us off. I think it's time that we get to level 100. We need every bit of speed and attack we can get. Alright, we're a few tries into level 100, and Water Onix still always is a mess. But this time, we get past him with pretty high health. Melodic is as tanky as ever though, and loves using Recover. I keep trying to switch moves to keep it from landing in red, but most of the time I just had to sit around healing anyway. I was really nowhere close to knocking it out when we suddenly got a crit for a knockout. I guess when you have to attack that many times, a crit is bound to happen eventually. After that is Tentacruel, who instantly Hydro Pumped us as we nearly one-shot it with Earthquake, so we both heal. He uses a full restore, and we use Rest. We then get crit by Hydro Pump, so as soon as we wake up, we have to rest again, just for him to crit another one. Eventually, he runs out of Hydro Pumps though, and once that happens, he can hardly hurt us with Sludge Bombs, so we just take him out. Last is Whiscash, but it just used Amnesia, so we hit it twice, and the second hit was a crit, so it went down fast. That really wasn't that bad at the end. With that win, we get into the Hall of Fame and win the run, but you know it's not over yet. Gen 3 has a post-game fight with Steven Stone. I really have no idea if I'm going to win this one. A lot of his team should be pretty hard to fight, but the fact that we have Rest and Earthquake makes me think that we could possibly win. Sure, we'll never one-shot that Skarmory at the start, but Toxic isn't a run-ender when we have Rest. I think we stand a chance, but maybe I'm just delusionally optimistic. I'm gonna go out of my way to get some leftovers. I think I might need them. Well, yeah, I might just be delusionally optimistic. I tried the fight a few times, and never even once could we get Skarmory to faint. It destroyed us with Steel Wings very easily, often buffing itself in the process. This one time he randomly switches during the Skarmory fight to Armaldo, but then it easily takes us out. It's not even slightly close to a win. Alright, that was a fun run though. I'm just happy that I beat Wallace. I really hope you guys like that run. The next Pokemon challenge should be up next week on Saturday, like usual, with Pokemon Red, but it's in French. No, I don't know French beyond what I learned in elementary school, so this should be quite the mess. As always, I'm looking at your suggestions in the comments, in the challenge request section of my Discord channel, and on Twitter. Subscribe, ring the bell, stay tuned. Now, I don't have a whole lot of time to kill for this ad-lib outro thing, because, I mean, you've heard it a million times. I have not eaten yet. I am very, very busy and have much to edit to get this video up. I wanted to get this video up for the patrons yesterday. However, it was a bad voiceover day. I tried starting the voiceover, I was a mess. So, I'm doing it today instead. What I will say is a little thank you for getting all the way to the end here. I have a little special announcement that's going to be really big in the next 2 runs, but I'm going to let you know here early, and then I'll probably let people know shortly after on Twitter and YouTube posts and all that stuff. But there's going to be a plushie of me, a limited release plushie, a 2-week campaign plushie thing going up. I'll put a little picture of it on screen right now. You can go ahead and get this. I'll have a link in the description. But you can reserve it right now, and then on the 22nd of August, 2026, you're going to be able to put in like a $2 reservation thing. So like right now you can get notified for it, and then you can put in a $2 reservation. If we hit 200 or more of those reservations, then they're going to make the plushies and charge you the full amount, which I think is 30 or 35 American. I'm going to double check that before the campaign actually starts. And then they'll all get made and they'll get sent out, and it's just a limited time print kind of thing. Oh, and if we don't hit 200, that's okay. You just get refunded your $2, you know, so nobody has to pay anything, and the plush just doesn't get made. You know, it happens. Do I think the plush will get made? Yeah, probably. I think that we can pass 200. I don't think it's going to be crazy hard. But then again, I'm the least popular I've been in 7 years. So if we don't make it, it'll be funny. If we do not reach the 200 mark, then you all get to laugh at me forever for that time that I promoted a plush that never ended up getting made because I am not enough of a draw to be able to get 200 people to reserve it. And that will be very funny and will probably live forever on my Wikitubia page. Anyway, that's enough rambling for me. Thank you so much, everybody, for the $50 supporter shout-out tier. I very much appreciate it. You help keep the show going, literally, genuinely. I know everybody says that, but no, like, for real. Thank you, Jacob Busby, Javid Cosero, Grayson Fitz, Tara Louise, Dark Soul, Young Smoky VP, Gabriel Thornton, Hernandez Punchdick, and the -1 for your continued support. It's always very much appreciated. I'm gonna go get editing this thing. It's gonna be quite the job. Then I got a real big challenge to do next week. And I got a really, really big challenge that I'm playing next week. You guys won't even know about that one until you get to the outro bit for the French episode. Ooh, it's if you think the French one sounds fun, it is a million times more exciting, the one that I'm doing the week after. So look forward to that. It's a game that you've never seen me do a challenge in before. It's still Pokemon, don't worry. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and until next time, have a nice day.